Alrighty, we're going to be looking at the final assignment for Base 2, and this one's really important because it's a little bit different, and we're going to have a lot more of these scale sheets, okay? So the biggest thing on this one first is just learning how to read it, because it can be a little bit confusing, and depending on how you're looking at the guitar, it kind of looks reversed from what you might think it would be, okay? Also, for this class, I have all the scales written for guitar, so it's 6 strings, just because it was easier than rewriting it on bass, because it's going to be the same on bass. We're just going to only use 4 of the strings. Now guitar later on we'll use all 6. That's obviously going to be different. But right now we're just using bass. So the biggest thing is, for if I'm looking at my major scale, for example, think of it alphabetically. So we're going to try and go C, D, E, F, G. Now my first note, C, is on my E string, which is the 4th string. Okay, so again, 4th string is the string closest to you. I'm going to start on a C. And typically, if you've kind of learned how to read it, if you know where to start, the rest of it makes more sense. But people will sometimes start up here. We're not going this way, we're going this way. So my first note on every single scale here should be a C. I'll move my other fingers out of the way. Okay, now you notice C and D are on the same, C and D are on the same line, right? Meaning C and D should both be on my 4th string or E string. E, F, and G are on the same line, meaning E, F, and G are going to move to my next string, which is an A. So I should be using my E string for C and D, my A string for E, F, and G. Now one other thing is, the big thing with scales is you're trying to use all 4 of your fingers, right? It doesn't make sense to play a scale going like this when I can use, right? But eventually I can use all 4 fingers, and I'm trying to get all of them strong. Now keep in mind, up to now it hasn't really mattered what finger you're using. So a lot of your pinkies, especially your pinky, is going to be super weak at the beginning. That's normal. We do it more and more, it'll get easier, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my metronome here at 60. And really important here is, don't do it faster than 60. Even if you think it's easy, or even if you think you can do it faster, your technique is way, way more important right now than going fast. Because I promise you, if you get your technique, if it sounds really, really good at 60, when we go to 80, when we go to 100, when we go to 120, it will sound really good. If it doesn't sound good at 60, there's no way it's going to sound good at 80 or 100 or so on, right? So what I'm going to do with my first scale is I'm going to try and assign 1 finger per fret. So if I'm looking at that picture, if I start with C with my 2nd finger, that's my middle finger, that would put 1 finger per fret like this. 1st fret, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 4th fret. The idea is, whenever I can, I assign 1 finger per fret, because then it's way easier to know what fret I'm on, as opposed to trying to guess like this. Now at the beginning, your hands probably won't be either big enough or flexible enough, so you can move a little bit, that's fine, but you still want to designate 1 finger per fret. So I'm going to put my metronome on at 60. Okay, and I'm slowly just going to play through all of these scales. I might pause here and there just to explain something. But my first scale should sound like this. Right, so I went C, D, E, F, G, then I paused briefly, and then I went backwards, which is reverse alphabetical order, G, F, E, D, C. Here's my next scale, same fingering, major arpeggio. I'm going to go pause. Okay. Now the next one's the only one that's a little bit different in that it spans more than 4 frets. So in this case, when I go to G sharp, I'm just going to have to move my hand up a little bit. Same fingering, but I'm just going to shift up. So here's C augmented arpeggio. Pause. Okay, now for the final 3 arpeggios, I'm going to shift position. A position change just means I'm changing where my first finger goes. So technically, those first 3 scales were in 7th position. My first finger's on the 7th fret. Now I'm going to move to 8th position. So here my first finger's on the 8th fret. Now I'm using these 4 frets. So I have 1 finger per fret. So here's a minor scale. Pause. Okay. C, D, D, E flat, F, G, and then G, F, E flat, D, C. Here's minor arpeggio. Oops, got a little buzz there. Let's do that again. Pause. Okay, and then my last one's diminished arpeggio. Okay, so super important on the sheet. Really take your time. Make sure to do it with a metronome at 60 because you're practicing a lot of things at once. And if you practice well, you're going to really learn a lot. You're practicing using your different fingers. You're getting your different fingers strong. You're getting coordination between your two hands. And you're practicing good time with the metronome. So if we put all those things together, it's really going to be helpful. And the other levels are going to be easier because not only are your fingers stronger, but you're going to know how to read these scale sheets.